more. But for now, we start in the lower left corner of the map. Fighting Spirit. This is the ESL STARBOW Tournament number 5, and spawning yellow, playing as Terran. It is the Alien Invasion player, Hanfy. And his opponent over yonder in the lower right. From APSC2, the Spanish clan of badasses, it is the pink Zerg player, ieZael. Does STARBOW have the option for stronger team colors? So it kind of will eventually. I want to explain that real quick. This is completely irrelevant to STARBOW, guys, for the moment. In patch 2.1, what they added the ability to play with our extension mods. So currently, prior to the patch of 2.1 and until Ryan Shedder releases it publicly, to make a Game Heart Light map or to use stronger team colors or any of those cool features, you have to have specifically had a map designed with all of that built into it already. So like, you'd have to have Game Heart Light Fighting Spirit. You couldn't use just Fighting Spirit. But with the Game Heart Light extension mod, when it gets released, what you'll be able to do is basically make the game with all of that stuff attached to it. So you can apply it to any map. It's really cool, actually, the way that that's going to work. So currently, no, you can't get like stronger team colors or anything like that, but you will eventually be able to, which is really cool. Anyways, yeah, STARBOW, welcome to it, bros and broettes. TVZ has been a very interesting matchup. I think personally, honestly, my favorite matchup in STARBOW at the moment is more ZVP more so than ZVT. But ZVT's got some cool potential. One of the most interesting things is certainly the spider mine aspect and the vultures, in my opinion. But we haven't gotten to see a lot of late games. So like, I've seen Guardians once ever. I've not seen any battle cruisers to date. I mean, there's this whole portion of STARBOW that's still unexplored that could have some really cool potential, might be broken, who knows? Until someone gets there, we'll never find out. I do want to give props to ieZael and Beastie Cutie, though. In the first ever STARBOW tournament, their game in the finals, #1. Look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen it. It had like 5 or 12 nukes. It had Nidus Worms. It had late game. It had defense matrices. It had freaking Dark Swarm. You name it, it was there. And that was one of the most extensively fun STARBOW matches I've cast to date. But again, a TVZ. So the potential is there to have cool stuff. We'll see if it happens here today. National Base was taken a little bit early. One thing I want to talk about for this matchup that I find very interesting and kind of hilarious is like, okay, let's pretend this is regular StarCraft 2, right? As a Zerg player, oftentimes you do like a double evolution chamber wall and a roach war to make sure your opponent can't get in with Hellions, right? You don't see anyone do that in STARBOW. So you see vultures wreck mineral lines. You see dropships carry them into the base. A huge scan in the main to see what's going on, and what's going on is not a lot. But I feel like a lot of people who are really talented at regular StarCraft 2 have forgotten about some of the most basic aspects of StarCraft 2 coming into STARBOW. But we'll see if that ends up happening here or not. We do have the Spine Crawler on the way here, so that's going to be a nice little defensive boost. Spine Crawler still hits like a truck, so dealing with Hellions and things are going to be not too difficult. But we do have those, certain Hellions, rather, Vultures coming out here. Just finished talking about how Hellions aren't in the game, and here I am talking about Hellions. Yeah, I can't pronounce the name probably. ieZael or USA, if you want to get really phonetic with it, is the match I was referencing there. But anyways, vultures are going to poke in here. Going to find out that they're going to be deterred. Enrage on the queen, not enough energy for it, actually. So just trying to body block, but gets past the Spine Crawler, which means they can start shooting away at the drones. And as we can see, why did that? Hang on.
First blood.
There we go. I'm sorry. I don't know why that like choked out for whatever reason. Anyways, vultures are doing quite a bit of damage here, annoyingly. I'm not sure why he repositioned the Spine Crawler. He could have just camped in front of it, but a queen does need to enrage. Doesn't quite have the energy. It takes 25 guys and not gonna do it. Whoa. That was like the Matrix for a second when everything laid down and paused. But workers have actually been gutted here in a big way. 9 workers, and this is kind of what I was talking about, guys. Like, I mean, like, it's almost irritating seeing this happen because it's so predictable, and I've only cast a very small handful of games. But as we can see, an enraged queen looks really cool, and it does a ton of damage. So it does deal with those vultures. I almost called them Hellions. Yeah, that's not Not a fun thing to deal with. We do have links with metabolic boosts scurrying across the map, though. The vultures were killed. 2 more are being produced here at home. They are, of course, being chronoed out, essentially. Does have to be careful. Gets to the top of the ramp. Will not quite get the depots down, and that kind of sucks. SCV is going to be pulled into this. For those who don't know what's happening, that supply being called down is called it's an ability from the orbital command center called Overcharge. Looks like more lings will die here. They actually killed a lot of SCVs, so I think that was worth a mega kill. Anyways, an Overcharge ability is kind of like a chrono boost that comes out of the orbital command center. What it does is make something build 50% quicker. But if it's put on a barracks, it makes it build 100% quicker. So you can really ramp up your production to get those vultures that you so desperately need out and ready to go. Now, there's no tech associated with them. Would really would like to see Hanfy start getting some, if not Spider Mines, ion thrusters. I kind of feel are way better, in my opinion. But Spire is on the way, and as we saw for our player Marine Lord, it was not too easy to deal with a huge flock of Mutalisks, not without a Radiate. We'll see if Hanfy is a little bit better as far as getting there. It's kind of funny too, small nod to Hanfy. Really talented 2v2 player, not too bad in 1v1 for regular StarCraft 2. He's a pretty good guy. The problem is a lot of the best players from StarCraft 2 normally have come into STARBOW and struggled. I mean, if you guys saw Goody in week number 1, he like lost hardcore fast in the best of ones. Tefl as well. But then the next week, Tefl was in the final. So I mean, it's not hard to pick up the mechanics of the game. But it is kind of cute watching players like Hanfy, who are, you know, they're talented players, struggle a little bit. But we'll get into the drone line once again. Behind the mineral line, should be able to take a lot of lings out with these vultures, but unfortunately they will ultimately be cleaned up. But as we see, the ling count was cut up by about half by the looks of it. Goliaths are coming out. Goliaths, of course, have no bonus damage. There's no bonus damage really in STARBOW. There's like unit classifications of like small, medium, and large, and that affects the percentage of damage you deal. But it's not like StarCraft 2 where it's like, you know, 18 bonus versus light or anything like that. But Goliaths are not the best units in the game, to be honest, guys. They do have one really cool aspect where they're unique. I love pointing this out because a lot of people haven't picked up on it. I'll show you in a sec here once this calms down. It's at the front base. They can shoot, of course, up and down, which is, I guess, a small, cool thing. But, you know, their attack for anti-air is really slow. Their attack damage for ground is kind of relatively low to that of a Marine. So, I don't know. They're not terrible units. They're just not the best units of the game. Anyways, the customization of what I was talking about. Please notice there's like a fire decal or decal. There's some jaws on this guy over here. I guess the fire makes him run faster. Hell if I know. And this one's just, of course, boring and normal. But it's just kind of cool. The Goliaths come out with a little bit of customization. Whether that's on purpose or by accident, I think it's really cool. A couple of Mutalisks, though, going to try and duck in here. The small amount that they currently are going to not deal the most amount of damage. The Goliath should be able to respond, but the fallout from ieZael is not too different than what we saw the first game with this wonderful, talented player, where it's probably not just Hydralisks, but most importantly, Lurkers coming out afterwards. This time, though, Hanfy's playing a little bit more mechanized, so Charon boosters are on the way. This is going to be Goliath's move, or sorry, the range of the attack a little bit longer. Sorry, I always mix up those and the movement speed of the vultures. Yeah, decal, I don't know, it depends where you're from, your pronunciation. I'm Canadian. Deal with it. Siege tanks, of course, don't have siege mode innately to start off with, so yeah, the siege tank, it's really nice that it's on the front line. It's got a pretty decent amount of range to it, but it's not going to stop Lurkers dead in their tracks by any means. And of course, whether you're bio or whether you're mechanical, Lurkers are kind of like, they're just anti-ground, guys. It's not going to be fun to deal with unless you have that range bonus. Oh, Hanfy never finished the turret in the main. That's going to sting a little bit. Goliaths, of course, can't be pulled like 1 or 2 at a time. It's not like a Thor where you can rely on one to kill a clump of Mutalisks. As we can see, their attacks are kind of... it's like underhanding a softball compared to throwing a baseball. I don't know why I'm trying to use real sports in video games. Let's be honest, none of us play them, but it doesn't hurt very much. Siege tank siege mode can't be started until the Charon boosters is finished up here too, so does have to get this done quick in order to deal with the Lurkers that are going to be coming soon. Whether he knows Lurkers are coming, though, is a whole nother question altogether. This turrets are doing a bit of damage to Mutalisks. Don't quite die. Again, Irradiate's kind of the end-all be-all unit for a lot of things, whether it's for dealing with the Lurkers themselves, the Mutalisks dancing in the air. Irradiate's a great tool to have, but unfortunately will not be out anytime soon, I fear. Goliaths are trying to catch these Mutalisks, but as we see, ieZael's actually got some pretty good control. He even snipes off the SCV from the clutches of like 6 Goliaths. So much for guarding that SCV, you dicks! Third base on the way here as well for ieZael, so again, it's not as important. Like you're not really gonna see like 7 base scenarios too often in STARBOW, the economy is so good off of low counts of bases, but you're encouraged to expand, make additional hatcheries. The larva inject, as we talked about before, I'm not sure if we talked about this game, is different, so that you don't spawn 3 at a time, it just spawns a little bit faster. So macro hatcheries, fourth bases, these are more common for Zerg players than in regular StarCraft 2. Lurkers do burrow, and siege mode is on the way, but I think Hanfy may just have to give up his natural, and it just feels like players are not equipped to deal with what ieZael is packing. There's a lot of Lings waiting to come in here too, which is kind of scary. There's not a lot of anti-flood defense, you know, there's no firebats out, there's a lot of Goliaths. I guess those will fare decently. As far as the advancement here, looks like a scan will go down. He should be able to pick off a decent amount of these, and splash damage is not going to be fun to deal with. And the Goliaths are going down to these Lings. Siege Tank is moving away. He knows how precious this is to keep alive. Siege mode is nowhere near completed. And the Lurkers are just going to shell away the front lines. Mutalisks do want to duck into the main, but there's not enough of them. Once those 6 additional ones come out, maybe they start trying to pick off at the turrets. But for now, ieZael is in a very rough spot, guys. Siege mode is so late. Finishes up now, though. Late than never. Irradiate is also really late, but that's not going to be a late than never scenario. It just looks like it may be a never scenario, depending on how this goes. ieZael doesn't have this game in the bag. Keep in mind, this is a meching player compared to the struggling bio woes of our player last time, who had no static D either. There's been a lot of turrets here and there, but there's a lot of Mutalisks now too. In fact, 18 in total. Goliaths are going to do what they can to add to the fight. Charm booster range on the missiles +3 is going to add a little bit more accessibility to shooting the Mutalisks, and it is worth noting he's not quite pushed in here to kill the SCV line, but of course, you know, that's going to happen here in a second. Not trying to repair the Goliaths, a little bit shocking in that regard. Missile turret's going to try and pick off a couple more Mutalisks, but this natural base looks like it's going to have to be forfeit. Again, if you guys are new to StarBoW and you're a Terran player, if you see someone going Mutalisks, you need, not want or should have, but absolutely need Irradiate to deal with this effectively. Now, of course, I'm saying this like it's the easiest thing in the world to get, right? Like, Hanfy had to struggle to get out Siege mode, Goliaths, it's not easy getting to that point, but you need to get it down eventually. Like, maybe instead of the 3rd factory, you had built a starport instead. Started that tech up, you know? It's a lot easier to, you know, what's that say? Like, retrospect is always 20/20 vision, or hindsight is 20/20, whatever. Anyway, point is, not in a good spot. About to lose all of his anti-air here. Another turret's going to come down out of desperation more than anything else. But good game is going to be called, and ieZael will advance forward in the brackets. I think